Hello, colleagues. Welcome to our webinar. We'll wait 1 more minute to be joined by other attendees. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear colleagues, wherever you are, and welcome to the fourth webinar in our virtual event series, Topics in National Bibliographies, brought to you by the ISLA Bibliography section. It is the first webinar in 2025. Our webinar theme today is an umbrella for a plethora of topics and areas situated at the intersection of our virtual event series 2 tracks, having as field bibliographic agencies and bibliographic services within national libraries. It explores how these institutions have embraced change and led innovation within and beyond their walls. There is no single theme to summarize topics covered. All we promise you is to introduce you to current trends, effective methodologies, strategic plans, and cutting-edge projects leveraging the latest technology. Most importantly, we'll introduce you to some key success factors while also providing an account of how the bibliographic landscape has evolved over the years. Our program for today features 4 presentations by 3 national libraries and a shared cataloging and data management service, and it will be followed by a question and answer session. And before welcoming our first presenter for today, let us start by some logistical items. So the webinar is being recorded and we make the recording available soon after the webinar. Microphones and videos have been turned off for this webinar except for presenters and moderators. We advise you to use the Q&A box to post your questions so they will be streamlined and for easy finding by our team and to avoid that they are lost in the chat. And you can use the closed captioning to follow what is being spoken on screen. I would like to thank the organizing team of this webinar, the review team, and the virtual management team composed of the bibliography section officers. And with you today on the backstage, Andrew Lampert, and on screen, I am your host and chair, and will be joined in the Q&A session by Kazui Murakami, our colleague in the bibliography section. Now, I'll stop sharing my screen to start introducing our first presenters for today. Hans Lowagie and Maud Henri, please join me here. And Hans is the head of the Agency of Bibliographic Information at the Royal Library of Belgium, KLBR. He oversees cataloging processes and ensures metadata quality with a strong focus on integrating AI into cataloging operations and workflows, and on applying RDA and international cataloging standards. And I'm super happy and honored today to welcome as speaker the super if la bibliography section secretary Maud Henry, who is also working at the information service, um, the Library Information Service and Metadata Librarian at the Agency of Bibliographic Information at KBR, the National Royal Library. She specialized in standardizing cataloging practices and aligning to international standards and improving the bibliography, the Belgian national bibliographies. And in the bibliography section, in addition to her capacities as secretary of the bibliography section, she's also co-chairing the Universal Bibliographic Control Working Group, who has recently launched the statement for the worldwide review, and we expect its soon publishing. Thank you, and over to you, the floor.
Thank you so much, Rehab. Okay, so let me share my presentation, our presentation. Okay. Can you hear me, Rehab? It's fine? Yes, great. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for selecting our presentation, and thank you all for joining the webinar. Today, we will be sharing how KBR is shifting its focus, moving from providing local access to our collection towards delivering more global metadata services. And yes, we all know the library world is changing. Services are becoming more open, more digital, more global. And we are all aware of that, I think. But knowing this and actually going through the changes are two very different things. And at KBR, this shift has been much more than just a technical update. It has really felt like some kind of revolution in the way we think and also in the way we work. So I will start by giving some context during the first part of the presentation, and then Hannes will take over. Okay, let me briefly introduce KBR. KBR is Belgium's national scientific library, collecting all Belgian publications to build a comprehensive collection. We preserve and manage a vast cultural and historical heritage, holding over 8 million documents. Our mission includes providing the public access to information, supporting academic research, and also offering rich cultural experiences to visitors. Now, within KBR, the Bibliographic Information Agency plays a very important role. The agency is responsible for creating and maintaining high-quality bibliographic data. Our core activities focus on the Belgian bibliography, on the acquisitions, the gifts, and we are also responsible for the retro-cataloging project to describe publication already in our collections, but not yet recorded into our online catalog. So the team is led by Hannes. There are 17 catalogers and also 3 support team members, myself included. We have some volunteers working mainly on the retro cataloging project, and from time to time we also have interns. And together we process approximately 22,000 documents per year. Now, traditionally, we thought of our users as people coming into our reading rooms to consult physical documents. And that has really shaped how we worked and also the tools we have been using. To give you a sense of how we worked not so long ago, let me show you our former system. So yes, this is Vivis. So until 2018, we were using this old library management system. And as you can see, it was very outdated. It was a text-based interface and was operated entirely by keyboard, so with no mouse. So yeah, rest in peace with Vivis. Bye. And KBR Mark was our local mark format, combining fields from Unimark, Mark 21, and also local custom fields. And obviously, it had major limitations. there were not such things such as permalinks, identifiers. There were no data services available, no possibilities for data expert, for example. And all of this was mainly due to this old library management system. Now, let's go back to our users. So we still have readers who search the catalog and consult documents on site or online, of course, and luckily. But now our user base is much broader than that. Today, researchers worldwide access our data remotely. Digital scholars analyze our data as research objects. Developers and library system providers integrate our data for various services, such as copy cataloging, for example. So all of these data users, they are just as important as our traditional users. And we must recognize their needs and adapt our cataloging practices to ensure interoperability across systems and platforms. So in short, serving all the users, both local and global, requires an expanded mindset and also evolving practices and workflows. So, as I said, users have changed, user needs have changed, and so have the national bibliographies. They are not just a static list of publications anymore. I mean, they are still that, but they are more than that. And they have transformed into dynamic, interoperable, and open digital ecosystems. And these ecosystems, they act as powerful tools for cultural preservation. They enable research and they facilitate global information exchange. So this transformation is actually both conceptual and also operational. It is driven by a long-term strategic thinking and also very concrete projects that my colleague is gonna explain in a couple of seconds. So now I will pass to Hannes for the second part of this presentation. Over to you, Hannes.
Thank you, Maud, and thank you. I hope you understand me also very good. So I will look into 3 points, how we changed a bit the switch from the local users to the international users, or users that are not really in the reading room, but outside the KBR also. So as Maud already mentioned, we had a new library management system in 2018, and this made us possible to add more services. We had OAI PMH, set 3950. Even before we couldn't offer our data that way, now we can. And we are still improving it also. If, for example, we had set 3950 in Mark 21, now we offer it also in Unimark, and we offer it also for our authorities. Before it was only the bibliographic data. Here we can offer permalinks, but now we are looking to improve it to really make persistent identifiers and not only a permalink. We are still looking in different ways. How can we improve our export possibilities? So it's an evolution. Here we are always looking at new possibilities or new changes. One small step, but that's really a big important step, was becoming ISNI registration agency. Because before, ISNI was not important. We had our local users, they can find their book, they can consult it in the reading room, they were okay. But the need for ISNI is in fact became very important when we want to offer more data services, when we want to offer or we want to link our data to international catalogs, then ISNI became important. Also for legal deposit, to know what are our Belgian authors, who are the Belgians who have to deposit. So that's a good example of how a small step, that's not really a small step, can have a big impact. Then we are still looking, or we are always evolving towards RDA and to change our cataloging practices. We provide guidelines to our catalogers, but I will talk about that a bit further. We put our data also now in WorldCats, just to make sure that our data are not only in our local catalog, but also findable in other catalogs, in more worldwide recognizable catalogs. Because when you search a book, the nearest library you found was the National Library of the Netherlands, and that was a bit strange to be in KBR to search a book and then see in WorldCat, yeah, you can consult that book in the National Library of the Netherlands, when in fact it was just in our stacks. So now we have that too. We have a project, very interesting project, Metadata, who have now exported all our persons and organizations and wants to offer them in a Wikibase as linked open data. It's a collaboration with KBR, with different federal institutions. So this is also an important step to make that step towards linked open data. And we are also improving the Belgian bibliography, like Maud said, to not only make PDF lists, but really add our data services. And we made it in this year. We had the 150-year anniversary of the Belgian bibliography. So it was the perfect time to really enhance the data possibilities. Yeah, next slide, please. But it's not only the project that you do, it's also creating the mindset and really engage in, for example, international networks. Maud is very active in the IFLA community. I once started also in Libri. I'm participating, I'm vice chair of Zurich, so I'm participating in Zurich. And now recently I will also be a member of the RDA board. We are in the Bibframe for Workshop for Europe committee. So that way we just want to not only work in KBR for KBR, but also in international organizations. And that's also something that we didn't do enough before, I think. We are also revising how we do our indexing, how we do our classification, subject indexing. Like I say, it's not just something that you do, it's something that you always have to keep in mind when you do a little change, or when you have a question, or when you want to apply a change, that you keep in your mind, yeah, we have to do it according to international standards, according to international rules. Because before it was rather, yeah, we have to develop something in KBR that's really fitting for the Belgian system or for the Belgian library or for KBR. But now we make that shift, that the KBR situation is less important than just aligning with the international systems. That does not say that you will have to lose your own identity, and that but it's really important that you link it to the international schemes or stories. We are now trying also to start a Belgian RDA commission, just to bring together all the institutions that work around RDA, not only in KBR, but really also the university libraries, museum libraries, also the educators, people who teach about RDA. We really want to bring them together. And like I said, with Metadata, we really want to make a move towards linked open data more than we did until now. And then next slide. My third point is a bit the evolutions, or some slides about what I learned as head of the National Bibliographic Agency in KBR, so Bibliographic Information Agency. But also, I was also responsible for implying the new library management system. And this experience also learned me a lot about traditions that were always in KBR and how we should adapt them, or how people react and things like this. So the first thing that's really needed is management support. And what I mean with management support, next slide, is that you really, if you want to do a change and you have to convince and your management, but also your team, it's not possible. I think when you really want to change, it's important that first your management is convinced, or that your management comes with good ideas. Or in KBR, it was important that they wrote a KBR action plan. And in that action plan, the focus was really on open data and the same things as I have discussed, align our data with international vocabularies and catalogs and so on. So one of the points of the action plan was to create a digital data strategy. And then we really got a team of people who really worked around data, not only catalogs, but data in KBR, and really want to say, okay, how can we improve our data? How can we make them more fair? And it was a good way to have, outside the Bibliographic Information Agency, a bit the discussion about what can we do, or what are the steps that can be done to improve the international alignment of our data. And then we applied that to inside our Bibliographic Information Agency. That's the agency within KBR, to really align our data with RDA, with ISNI, with fast subject heading. So really use this, because it was driven by the choices that the management and the digital data strategy has made. Next slide, please. Second point is be clear on, also next slide, on your purpose and your process. So once you have your action plan, and you know what way you want to go, or what are the final steps, it's important to explain that to your team. And not only during big official meetings with a big presentation, but with small questions. When someone asks a question and you say, yeah, I have to do it. How do I have to do this or that? It's important that you know the final step or the final purpose or the big end view in mind for your answers, because it's mostly that kind of answers or during that kind of talks or during the team building that people really listen. Because when you give a presentation or when you just do a big meeting, I think that people are maybe more distracted or that they not always keep in mind what you have said. So I think the official meetings are better to really discuss some changes. And then it's something that I will maybe have said already and that I will still say in a couple of slides also, change step by step. So evaluate what exists. And when you want to do a change, keep the final purpose in mind and then change step by step. Do not be afraid to do baby steps to do your final, to do a change. But always keep in mind your final purpose, because that's important. And also avoid doing too much changes that conflict to each other. So when you can do small changes, if they're all aligned to the final direction, I think this is also important. And then finally also document them. Because when I arrived in the Bibliographic Information Agency, there were a lot of official and unofficial processes, workflows, and none of them were documented. They were all, yeah, he knows how to do this, and then another person knew how to do that. So I think it was important to really document them and change them accordingly to your final process. Next slide, please. The final point is aligned with what I said before. So make clear guidelines and documentations. So this is the first thing is document your workflows. Also, we created clear cataloging guidelines online and in French and Dutch, because before we had a manual in French, we had a manual printed in Dutch. And then when something changes, there was a new version, but the old printed manual still kept going around in the offices and people still were using that, even though something has already changed or we had a new practice. So that's the advantage of do it online. It's always the most updated version. And also something very important is sometimes when I have an idea, I want to discuss it with the team to have some input. But not everyone from your team is willing or able to really give some input. Some say, I once had someone who really said to me, I do not want to hear your ideas, I really want to hear your decisions. So it's important that some of the people of your team, you can really go engage and you can think with them, and then they can, they need to be willing to be able to process multiple complex abstract ideas, because sometimes you have an idea, you think about what could be the impact of this or that, and then finally decide, yeah, no, it's not a good idea, we will not do it. Not everybody is able and willing to do that. So it's important when you have an idea, when you want to have some input, to know to whom you ask that input. It's just things that I have experienced, so things that I maybe have asked input to the wrong persons. So it's important, it's something that I found important to say here, because it was an important lesson for me to learn also. Next slide, please. Then for also very important, thank you, is the infrastructure.
Wrap up.
Yeah. So this is something you see in the slide, the metadata newsletter. So really change your system so the quality is assured. Change your library management system. And me, I have two hats here. I'm the head of cataloging, but I'm also the special point of contact of my library management system. So I can imply some changes in our library management system with, in my back of my head, what's important for cataloging. I also changed our guidelines to now machine readable guidelines, but I will tell more about it in the IFLA satellite meeting next month. And it's also very important that you have a library management system that has not too much bugs or crashes. And I say it because sometimes our library management system has some bugs or crashes, and I saw that it's really sometimes demotivating for your team. So that's always also an important step that I learned, that a good system that never has a bug is also very good for the motivation. Next slide, please. But maybe I'll skip the mess team because, yeah, it's also important to have a motivated team, to have a team that knows that changes are present and that always things can change, who can take responsibility, who stay curious, who wants to know what happens around the library world internationally. So that's also that's something that's very important. Next slide, please. Then something I already said, don't be afraid of taking baby steps. When you take small tasks, small steps, but they're all going in the same direction, I would say already start with the small steps, because also before it was, yeah, it's something has to be very, very detailed and 100% clear or finished in order to implement it. But when you do that, it can take years or months and nothing has changed. So I'm more from the principle you can take some baby steps and then step by step go into the good direction. And then the next slide is just some challenges, because you will always have people who are against change, who are really, we have worked that way, it always worked, why do I have to change? And I think it was Michalis from Greece who said, yeah, you never can convince the whole team. When you can convince 80%, it's okay, and the rest will follow. Or you have people who follow, you have people who will always be against. So it's also important to know that sometimes you cannot always convince 100% of your team. And of course, I think everybody knows and has the same problems about budget plus personal cuts, limited time also. That was my final slide. So thank you for letting me share those experiences. And when you have a question, you can always contact me or Maud. And this is a photo from our team building from some members of our team. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hans and Maud, for this insightful presentation. And I leave to the participants to ask their questions, to learn from your experience. Thank you so much. And now let us welcome Elodie Wälti and Christian Aliverti from the National Library of Swiss for a joint presentation about the National Swiss Library Bibliography, sorry. So Elodie Wälti is a manager and editor of the Bibliography of Swiss History. She is also the president of the Swiss Network for Bibliographies. And Christian Aliverti, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you because we have years of collaboration in IFLA sections. Christian is member of the managing board of the Swiss National Library and head of the section of bibliographic access of the Swiss National Library, and he's currently member of the IFLA cataloging section and the RDA board. Over to you, Elodie and Christian.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to give you some words about the Bibliography of Swiss History. Since 1914, the Bibliography of Swiss History lists written publication on Swiss history. Long available in print, the bibliography is now available in PDF format and, more importantly, can be consulted in a database published by the Swiss National Library. Our database contains publications from both Switzerland and abroad, including monographs, articles from collection and journals, doctoral, bachelor, and master's theses in all media. We catalog our records according to cataloging standard RDA application profile DACH. That seems is for German-speaking countries, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And we index also with the authority file gemeinsame Normdatei GND. So we have an index terms for person, places, and subjects. Our data is also organized according to an in-house multilingual classification system for Swiss history based on the DDC. So the DDC system is too general for this kind of thematic bibliography. And it's also important to say that in Switzerland we have several languages. So the National Library has the legal obligation to offer its service in all official languages. For this reason, we have a multilingual classification system. Thanks to this multilingual classification system, it's possible to offer a database with specific filters in English, German, French, or Italian. This makes it easy for researchers to search by theme, location, or period via advanced search function. In order to respond to the needs of our users, we also place great priority on collaboration with interest group on Swiss history and bibliographies. For example, we collaborate with the collection of Swiss law sources. The Law Source Foundation of Swiss Jurist Society offers a comprehensive collection of historical legal documents from Switzerland in the collection of Swiss law sources. We collaborate also with InfoClio. InfoClio is a national research infrastructure for the historical science in Switzerland. We have also a collaboration with the Société Suisse d'Histoire, Swiss Society for History. It's the professional association of historians in Switzerland. And we have also, we work also with the Fachliches Netzwerk Bibliographen, Réseau Sectoriel des Bibliographies Suisse, so Swiss Bibliographies Network. The network promotes exchange between local, national, and specialist bibliographies throughout Switzerland. Here, with this collaboration, everyone has a role to play and also skills to contribute. So on the one hand, the Swiss National Library, Bibliography or Swiss History, is specialist for bibliographic data, ensure data quality, and long-term accessibility of bibliographic data. Dialogue with these communities of interest allow us to have a user-friendly database that best meets the needs of our potential users. And on the other hand, the researchers, our users, are familiar with the specific needs and research and source editing. Thanks to their help, the bibliography is becoming a research infrastructure that can be used for their specific needs and is developing in this direction. So to recap before giving you two concrete examples, these collaborations and dialogues enable the Swiss National Library and Bibliography of Swiss History to improve the visibility of the bibliography, identify user needs, improve the quality of the database, and work to make the bibliography easier to use. Researchers can thus have reusable bibliographic data and benefit from reliable bibliographic data, but also contribute to a more comprehensive data collection through their reports. And so what I said, then thanks to their help, the bibliography is becoming a research infrastructure that can be used for their specific needs, and it's developing in this direction.
And also hello from me. We make now two examples. How do we collaborate with historians, with Swiss historians? We are linking our bibliography, our online version of the bibliography with databases of the Swiss historians. And there we use mainly two types of links. One type of link is the identifier of our authority file, the GND, the GND. That's the authority file of the German-speaking countries. We need it, for example, for name of persons. And we have another type of linking. We have permanent links, permalinks in our bibliographic records. That's a service provided by the Swiss National Library. And we need a link resolver who is independent of our library system. And so we link to the Swiss law sources. We will show that. As you know, from every catalog, we have bibliographic records. And in the bibliographic records, we have defined access points for persons and other entities like corporate bodies and places. Here we see a record about a work about Ottmar Kunz. That's a person from 16th century. You don't have to know this Ottmar Kunz, but it's good to give an example. The bibliography of Swiss history lists literature about this person. Using the identifier from the authority file GND, we query automatically several databases. We check whether Ottmar Kunz is also listed in other databases. And this database use also the GND for identifying the entities. If there's a match, we provide a link in our record. And to do this, we use the online service which is called Metagrid. And we link, for example, to the Dictionnaire historique de la Suisse. That's, there you'll find a lot of biographical information about the Swiss persons. And so you are in the bibliography of Swiss history, and you find link to this Dictionnaire historique. And also in this dictionnaire, you will have a backlink to our bibliography and also to other services. And this is managed by the Metagrid, the linking service. That's a common project of 30 databases and online service in the field of digital humanities and Swiss history. It's a project not only of the Swiss National Library, but mainly of the Swiss Academy of Humanities and Social Sciences. And this is a federative system, and it contains about 600,000 links and is linking more than 4 million items. And the linking process is semi-automatic. It needs nearly no intellectual control because it uses the links of our authority file. And this Metagrid can be integrated in bibliographic catalogs as a widget, and we use that in our online version of the bibliography. And the other way we link in our records, we call them permalinks. That means every bibliographic record has its own address, who is stable and permanent. And that's the way we collaborate with Swiss law sources. The Swiss law sources project by Swiss Lawyer Society that was set up over 100 years ago, and they are providing a lot of law sources, historical law documents. And They are editing volumes containing context from Middle Ages to the early modern age. And bibliographies are very important in these editions. And in the past, these bibliographies were created by the legal source foundation itself and managed in own databases. Since the bibliographic information is also listed in the Bibliography of Swiss History, the two organizations, Swiss National Library and the Law Foundation, decided to start working together. And now the bibliographic records are now exclusively in the Bibliography of Swiss History, made by the Swiss National Library. And the legal sources no longer maintain their own bibliographies. Instead, they refer directly to the National Library's database in their publications. And this is very important for us. Now we are part of this community of Swiss historians, and we have a very good visibility. They know us, they use our records, they use our databases. And that's the main goal we want. We want to be together with our users for the Swiss bibliography. For the Bibliography of Swiss History, the historians are the most important users. And with these linking projects, we are part of this community, and we have a new role and an important role, more important than the paper edition we had years ago. And I think we are in time because we have some links. You can read and test them later. And then we say thank you, merci and danke for your attention. And I give to you Rehab back.
Thank you so much, Elodie and Christian, for this for another insightful presentation about how to drive change and innovation and connection, also cooperation in national bibliographies. Thank you so much. And just as a quick note to our participants, because I just figured out that the Q&A box wasn't showing at the start of the webinar. So just in case you place any question in the chat, make sure to take them to the Q&A box. And let us welcome our next presenter for today, Patricia Lubin. Can you join me, Patricia, here so I can present you? Patricia is Director of Library Service and member of the company management at Casalini Libri. She oversees business planning and development, supervises the production of multilingual bibliographic information. She's also coordinating the sales team, and she's member of the PCC Advisory Committee for Library Systems and Vendors. Over to you, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Rehab, and thank you to the IFLA Bibliography section for inviting Casalini Libri to join you here today. So let me just share my slides. Oops, I'll go and get it. Okay. Full screen. Okay, here I am. So let me, I thought, start it in 2025, just to explain what Casalini Libri is currently doing for the library world. So we provide cataloging, data management, and metadata for the 21st century. So specifically, as you can see from my slides, we offer original cataloging to RDA BibCo standards for Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Greek publications. Let me explain immediately that this language set mirrors the books that we supply to university libraries. So we are actually specialized in European publications and for the time being in Southern European publications. I should also hasten to add that that is not exclusively what we can do, but it's what we're currently doing. So consequently, since we provide full cataloging to many libraries worldwide, we are also members of the PCC and contribute to NACO and SACO. We provide metadata creation for European full text content, and that's specifically for our own full text platform, which is called Torossa. And we are an ISNI registration agency and partner of MEDRA. We also, for data management, we have services for enrichment, reconciliation, and validation of library, bibliographic, and authority data. And we have a series of tools designed for library data and culture hedge, of which I will talk a little bit as we move forward. My next screen is, oh no, I've gone too fast, sorry. It's not going down. Okay, so this is what we currently are doing as well in linked open data. We have shared catalogs, which are part of our Share Family initiative, different tenants using the Share initiative in slightly different ways. We provide authority control to libraries, and we also provide retrospective cataloging, working directly with libraries, trying to figure out what the best solutions are for each separate library. So what I wanted to try and explain is why did we get involved in linked open data? Well, the very simple answer is our technological partner, which is called @Cult. Started working with Casalini nearly 20 years ago when we needed to update our cataloging system. So @Cult developed a custom-built cataloging system for Casalini, which is unique. First of all, we were looking for something that could work in multi-languages, so we required that aspect. But we also needed like a commercial part of that we could add data to the records as well, which of course has nothing to do with full cataloging records, but were essential for us from a commercial point of view. We continued our collaboration with @Cult and many other projects over the years and became very interested in what they were doing with regard to linked open data and shared catalogs. In 2015, there was an Italian-based project called Aliverti, which helped a group of libraries in southern Italy produce a shared catalogue. This project was presented in the US in the ALA Midwinter in Boston in 2016 and received great interest. And out of this grew the Share Virtual Discovery Environment prototype. So the Share VDE, as we call it, has been on the scene now for nearly 10 years and has had various evolutions. We worked alongside Linked Data for Production. We have had other initiatives that have helped us reshape and reorganize the data that we supply. And I will skip to 2023-2025 and mention that the British National Bibliography is now using the beta version of Share. We have these Parsifal Lilith and other two initiatives here in Italy. And JCricket, Collaborative Cataloging Editor, is our entity editor, which I will talk a little bit about as well in a minute. So one thing that we like to stress and is basically, well, I would say the ethos of Casalini really is that everything we do, whether it be in linked open data or any other service we provide, is developed and driven by libraries for libraries. So specifically to do with linked open data, the Share family has an advisory council made up of representatives from member institutions. We have members and working groups actively participating in policy making and tool development, as well as defining goals. And this is important because it's a moving wall. And the expertise, responsibilities, and costs are shared across the community for the benefit of all. None of this, of course, would be possible if data were not open. So each institution receives the entity-based data sets corresponding to its own catalogue in linked open data. And this may be reused according to local policies and requirements with no restrictions. And here below, you can see the link to the open metadata policy. So to kind of sum up again, we see this as a diverse community in a shared cultural space. Here on the slide, I'll just highlight two aspects. The new liaison protocol establishes the relationship between the Share family and the RDA steering committee, the managing body for RDA. And the Jiminy Cricket cooperative data curation tool enables shared cataloging and representations of diverse descriptions, original languages, and writing systems. So specifically with national bibliographies, the Share family creates connections across the bibliographic catalogues and authority files of libraries with similar characteristics and focus areas. Again, I will not read anything, but the earlier adopters from Europe include the British Library and the National Library of Norway. Now, my next slide will just give you two screenshots of these portals. So one is the British National Bibliography, and the other is the prototype you have running for national bibliographies, where we have the data from the National Bibliography, and the National Library of Norway is joining us. And here, just to sum up, the goal is to provide a shared database of resources and at the same time give each institution its own subdomain displaying their own national bibliography. So this is our vision for national bibliographies. We hope you share it. I just want to focus on the very last sentence on this page, which is to maintain the characteristics that represent the different nature and cultural vitality of each country, its language and its culture. And I'll take a minute just to say that this, again, has really been the mission of Casalini Libri in everything that we do. We have spent a lifetime representing what I'm afraid are often defined as niche languages, and we feel it's very important that we are visible and well represented in a world stage where English is the dominant language. So the Share family approach, we sum it up in 5 words: cooperative, sustainable, open, inclusive, and dynamic. For each of these keywords, we have a little video which goes into more detail explaining this philosophy. You can see the link here. Now, if I focus just a little longer on cooperative, this brings me back to the Jiminy Cricket entity editor that I've mentioned a couple of times already. This is being developed along with, in collaboration with many libraries. And the idea is that data sets from participating libraries are processed to create linked data entities. And these can be corrected by catalogers, and catalogers can create new linked data descriptions using JCricket as a cataloging tool. Now, I realize showing slides at this is yes, a little frustrating, probably because it's hard to explain and show really what the potential of these tools are. So I would invite you, of course, to contact us afterwards, and we'd be delighted to give demos or set up trials with anyone who is interested. So I also want to spend just a couple of minutes explaining who Casalini is and how did we get where we are. The company was set up in the 1950s. The story is quite charming, really. It was the current owner's father, Mario Casalini, was in publishing here in Italy. And he was contacted by a group of academics from North America who were having difficulty getting both bibliographic information and books out of Italy. And so Mario basically decided to fill that gap and set up Casalini Libri. Today, as I think I mentioned earlier, we provide cataloging in 5 different languages, and we catalog about 45,000 books a year with a staff of 30 catalogers, just to give you some numbers there. So this is how we moved forward from Mark to eLibri to Casalini Libri, and we're in the process of launching a new website, which should be ready, I hope, by 2026. So, new millennium, new technology, new services. The big shift at the beginning of the 2000s was from new title information to custom cataloging. Then we started implementing in 2014, of course, RDA, and the Casalini staff was involved in defining the Italian translation. We provide native BibFrame-based cataloging, and of course, linked data, the development of new generation of tools. So this is more or less my last slide. Together with technological partners at CULT and with the collaboration and guidance of the Share family, and that I cannot stress enough, we are involved in shaping practical shared tools for the collaborative management and curation of quality bibliographic data. We work side by side with the international library community to forward the practical implementation of BibFrame and linked open data for libraries. So my last slide has a QR code, which brings you to the Share family website, where I hope you find a myriad of information that will be useful. And my colleague Anna Leonetti and I are here to answer any of your questions. And I'm going to put in the chat, there's a link here actually to a little video that Casalini has produced, really just for everyone's entertainment on the history of cataloging. So I'm going to put that in the chat when I come out of this environment. Oh, I think I can actually do it here. Hold on, chat. And here we go. Yeah, there it is. Yes, so thank you all for your time. And I hope that what I had to say was of interest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for this outstanding presentation. And last but not least, let me welcome our last presenters for today, Jeremy Goll and Ashwin Nair from the National Library Board of Singapore. Jeremy is a metadata service librarian at the NLB of Singapore, currently working on metadata management. He's part of a team focused on streamlining bibliographic authority metadata across libraries to boost resource discovery and prepare for linked data. And Ashwin is a research engineer at the NLB, equally leading the development of AI-driven solutions for library workflows in the resource discovery department. He specializes in automated metadata generation, large-scale record matching, and name entity link system, with recent work applying machine learning to scalable bibliographic data matching and entity extraction. Over to you, Ashwin and Jeremy.
All right, so hello everyone. Good evening from Singapore, and thank you so much for joining our sharing today. Ashwin and I are from the National Library Board Singapore, and we'll be sharing about our current efforts in matching names to manage our authorities database. So about us, NLB fosters a culture of reading, learning, and discovery through our network of 28 public libraries, the National Library, and the National Archives. We emphasize innovation and engagement, and our mission is to make knowledge come alive, spark imagination, and create possibility. NLB saw another strong year this year with rising visitorship, and here on screen is a snapshot of our collections and services. Our team at NLB is working to deduplicate and disambiguate authority files to improve user experience and facilitate entity management. In general, updating the database of name authorities often depends on the library's integrated library system, or ILS, and these updates are often deprioritized when resources are limited. So in our ILS, we import name authorities from the Library of Congress name authority file into the cataloging module when we catalog using that name for the first time, but these files are often not updated subsequently. However, the Library of Congress name authority file is updated regularly. So for context, authority files contain details about persons or organizations. They describe contributors to a resource. We keep a local database of name authority files, which create this web of linkages to bibliographic records, as you see illustrated on screen. However, the links aren't always perfect when our names are outdated. So when the name authorities database is not clean, it leads to a number of data management challenges. These names are often outdated and the headings have changed over time. There are also names which are undifferentiated, where the same heading refers to two different people. So this can be hard to resolve. So take, for instance, the example on screen, the string list brown on an item could link to an artist or the actress. And simply put, these muddy the relationships between contributors to the resource. This issue also affects user experience. So the example on the right shows a real catalog record on screen, which may cause our library users to question the veracity of their discovery. So in this case, the unqualified name for Brian Lynch has been conflated between the comics writer and the jazz musician. Our database holds 1.45 million personal names, which must be compared against the over 12 million names in the Library of Congress Name Authority file. And manual curation is not scalable. So even with the very generous estimate of checking 500 records a day, this is a 13-year endeavor. Thus, the goal is to automatically match these personal names and efficiently push these changes into the ILS. We approach this in two phases. Now, in the first phase, we looked at the 359,000 name authority records with Library of Congress control numbers, or LCCNs, to match against the Library of Congress name authority file. We identified 34,000 name authorities where the headings were updated. However, around 1.7 thousand still needed human review. Undifferentiated authority files need individual review of the names and their linked bits to correctly identify the correct version of that name. We also need to combine and duplicate authorities in our ILS, which do require some manual review of any associated bits. We are currently working on phase 2, and these are authority records in our ILS that do not have identifiers and thus are rather challenging to match. So Ashwin will explain how he did this later. But through this process, we identified 168,000 authority records to resolve a much reduced number. And this is the current workflow you see on screen. Firstly, we match the ILS authorities with LCCNs against the Library of Congress name authority file. We then use OCLC's cataloging tool, which we subscribe to, connection, to download authority records in batch. We review each name that had differentiated and their bibliographic records to resolve the headings. And we imported this final list of name authority records into our ILS and ran a second manual review to merge any potential duplicates. Again, this requires analysis of their linked bits. Addressing records with no LCCN will require more innovative techniques. And in the next section, Ashwin will talk more about this matching process. Over to you, Ashwin.
Thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. I'm Ash from the National Library Board in Singapore. And today I'll walk you through how I matched 1.45 million personal name records with over 95% accuracy. So why does this matter? Well, clean metadata improves discoverability, it supports linked data, and it helps people actually find what they're looking for. Now, doing this manually would take 13 years. I don't have 13 years. So automation is the only way. Now, the challenge is twofold, mess and scale. Now, names are messy. You get typos, aliases, outdated formats, stuff like that. And the moment you try to brute force match everything, you end up with 17 trillion comparisons. So I broke the problem down into 3 phases. Number 1, start with deterministic SQL joins. Number 2, move into entity resolution. And number 3, use neural information retrieval models with approximate nearest neighbor search. So the guiding principle was to start simple and only add complexity when you absolutely need to. So I began with deterministic joins. So using Sparkle, I exported LCNAF names to CSV and loaded both datasets into PostgreSQL tables. Now an inner join on LCCNs gave 25% matches instantly. Then label normalization, such as lowercasing and removing punctuation, boosted that by another 23%. So just with SQL alone, I resolved nearly half the dataset. Now this outcome is summarized in the pie chart here. So for 1.45 million records, 17% had missing labels, 25% are matched through LCCNs, 23% are matched through label normalization, and that leaves 35% unmatched, requiring more sophisticated methods. So here's some intuition on what an inner join would look like. So you have 2 tables, right? The ILS records on the left and the LCNAF on the right. So if records from the both tables have the same LCCN, there is a match. So for example, Becker Eaton with N01234 matches cleanly. So essentially, it is the intersection of 2 datasets based on a common identifier. So the next phase is entity resolution. So entity resolution is the process of identifying duplicate records that refer to the same entity across one or more different data sources. So I use trigram blocking and unsupervised learning algorithm to group similar names and applied string matching algorithms such as Levenstein. Now this reduced comparisons by over 90%. And on a curated labeled dataset of approximately 34,000 known pairs, I achieved an F1 score of 98.85%. But it hit memory limits at full scale. So to scale further, I moved beyond string matching and turned to vector embeddings. So instead of comparing names as plain text, I encoded them into high-dimensional vectors using transformer-based language models. So models such as BERT, bidirectional encoder representations from transformers. These are pre-trained on tasks such as mass language modeling and next sentence prediction. So it enables them to understand context and handle typos, abbreviations, and name variants. Now, sentence transformers runs two identical BERT-style encoders. So this kind of Siamese setup gives you a vector for each name, and you just compare them. So the model is trained on natural language inference and similarity datasets. So it has kind of a good sense of what close means semantically. Now I used mini-LM, a distilled version of BERT. It is smaller, faster, but it still works surprisingly well. Now each name is encoded into a 384-dimensional vector. Then I compare names using cosine similarity. So it's a simple idea. The closer the vectors, the more similar the names. Now, once the names are encoded, I measure how close they are using a metric called cosine similarity. It is the dot product divided by the magnitude of two vectors. So it measures how similar vectors are by calculating their angle, right? So similar names will have vectors pointing the same direction. Then I set a threshold to maximize the F1 score. Now embeddings are great, but how do you scale matching? Well, I used approximate nearest neighbor search, specifically inverted file index and product quantization. So what that means is, first I embed the LCNAF vectors using mini-LM. Then I cluster those vectors into Voronoi cells using k-means clustering. Next, I use embeddings of the ILS names. And for each name, I search only within the most relevant Voronoi cells based on its centroid values. So product quantization is used to compress the vectors. It keeps the entire system lightweight and memory efficient. So in short, clustering gives me speed and compression gives me efficiency. And this optimization reduces our problem from 10 trillion comparisons to 10 candidates per name. But approximate nearest neighbor search only gives us the top 10 matches. And out of those top 10, we need to pick the best one. So I use RedSim, a character level model, designed for resilience to typos and label noise. So the full stack kind of looks like this. Mini-LM for semantic representation, approximate nearest neighbor search for fast retrieval, and RedSim for semantic and syntactic precision. So the final result is an F1 score of 95.22% on our test dataset. So in summary, this project combined databases, algorithms, and machine learning in a way that was modular, scalable, and practical. So looking ahead, I'd like to try MinHash and CatBoost for deduplication. But the key learning point and takeaway for me is don't overbuild, start simple, and scale smart. Thanks. Now back to you, Jeremy.
All right, thanks so much, Ashwin. So Ashwin's methods have provided a list of candidate matches, and in this section, we want to operationalize these matches to clean up our database. We refine the list in two stages. Firstly, we identify a similarity score cutoff with a higher accuracy, and we then reviewed the list and excluded authorities without associated resources, as these do not appear in our catalog. We also removed non-English names because romanization tends to create more mismatches that result due to homonyms, and we excluded records that had differences in dates. In totality, consequent to the process, the outcome looks something like this. So take, for example, this case you see on screen. Initially, we encountered a situation where different resources by different Karen Millers are combined under unqualified name. But now this name is aggregated under the correct versions of Karen Miller. So the takeaway from this effort is that automation can get us far, but humans are still needed in that last mile. For records with LCCN identifiers, 5% is still need matching, which involves editing an average of 2 to 3 bibliographic records per name, sometimes much more. So on top of this, we estimate that only 33% of the fuzzy matches can be updated automatically, with the remainder needing our review. Humans are still needed because of constraints where marked format data cannot be easily accessed from the system. And the work also involves lots of cross-referencing across various websites or even the actual items themselves. So we also noted that data sources can be incorrect. Therefore, catalogers' judgment is still essential to evaluate this information. So moving forward, the team is working on exploring better matching algorithms and batch methods, and we're also intending to run annual updates to prevent accumulation of outdated data. We're also working on updating the way we create metadata, because unauthorized personal names conflict with unqualified names, and we occasionally have situations where our IOS incorrectly links these records together, leading to issues downstream. And with thanks to our teams of catalogers at NLB, we're working on an updated workflow to flag out unauthorized names in our database during cataloging. This allows us to extract these records for resolution in a cleaner way. And in sum, these efforts get us closer to disambiguating our name authority records to maintain a database that is up to date and facilitates linkages between contributor and resource. And with this, thank you so much for your attention today.
Thank you so much, Ashwin and Jeremy, for this very helpful presentation about using AI in bibliographic services. And warm thanks to all our presenters. And before welcoming everybody here to join us along with our moderator, I would like to likely answer a question that was put in the chat about certification of attendance. Yes, we can issue a certification of attendance. We review the logs and we see that you have participated, attended the webinar, not just logged in and logged out, but, and we can provide you with the certification of attendance. Please email us and we'll review the logs and issue this certification of attendance. And now let me call all our presenters to join me here in the lobby to start the Q&A session. I'm also happy to welcome Anna Liunetti from Casalini Libri, will be joining us for this Q&A part. Anna is the Research and Development Assistant at Casalini Libri Share Family Casalini Libri. And also let me introduce our moderator, Kazui Murakami, who is member of the IFLA Bibliography section. Kazui is Assistant Director, Acquisition Administrator and Bibliographic Control at the Bibliographic Control Division at the National Diet Library, the National Library of Japan. And she's going to moderate this part. I see that some of the questions have been already answered in the Q&A. So let's start by the question that did not, didn't have the chance to be answered. And then if you have time, we can go also through the question that that our presenters have answered. Over to you, Kazili.
Yes, thank you, Rehab. First of all, thank you all for attending this webinar all over the world. And thank you to the presenters for your great presentations. We have already received the answer, some of questions in the Q&A box, and all participants can see the answered questions. So I will introduce the other questions we received and ask the presenters to answer them. So let's get started with the first question. for Swiss presentation, what it means, the RDA profile they mentioned. Christian will answer the questions. It's over to you, Christian.
Yeah, thank you. RDA is a global standard for a framework for cataloging, and it needs some interpretation, and we call that application profile. And the German-speaking countries, that means Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, we collaborate in such questions, and we made our own, we call that application profile. DACH for Deutschland, A for Austria, CH for Switzerland. A bit strange, I know. And I put already in Q&A question the link. You can see it's only in German language available, but if you have further questions, just write me an email, and there you find all the rule interpretations, things like that, for the concrete application of RDA. And it's based on the official RDA toolkit, not another cataloging code. It's really RDA made in German for the German speaking. Is that okay like that? Yeah.
Thank you, Christian. Any other comment, Rehab?
No, I was trying to say if any one of our other speakers want to jump in at any time to add something to the answer, please feel free to make it. And sorry for this interruption.
No, not at all. I'd like to move on the next question. Has IFRA or any other organization established any platform for World National Bibliography's access channel? Well, anyone is welcome to volunteer to answer this question.
I'm not sure what is meant by across channel. Is it mean it's distributed system or it's a shared service? Can you please, the asker of the question, can please give us clarification regarding this in order to answer your question? Then we can move to other question until we have some clarification.
If I may, Rehab, may I add a comment on this while we wait for the clarification? Well, I see this question as twofold. So on one side, it's addressed to IFLA, but it also makes me think of the National Bibliographies portal that Patricia has presented before. So the one that the Shared Family Initiative is handling, supporting linked data national bibliography. So this is sort of a different object compared to traditional national bibliographies currently curated in MARC by national libraries. But if I may comment on that, I would say that this national bibliographies shared portal in linked data is an attempt to provide a space where national libraries can contribute their national bibliographies and make it evolve to linked data consumption. So that's not this tool does not provide for the traditional management of bibliographies in MARC, but still it's a space where more institutions can collaborate together and put together their data sets.
Thank you, Anna.
Rehab, if I may intervene, maybe something we can mention, and I don't think that that's what they were asking exactly in this question, but we can certainly mention the National Bibliographic Register that you can see on the IFLA website, on the bibliography sections page. So it's not a shared catalog of national bibliography resources. It's rather a register where you can see different profiles from national bibliographies, some kind of identity card, I would say, about national bibliography. So this is something different. I think that's but it's still interesting to know, and this is indeed something that IFLA is taking care of.
It's a resource that is maintained by the IFLA bibliography section. I was going to mention this reading the question, but just across the channels made me think they were thinking about something like a shared cataloging utility or bibliographic utility or linked data service like Anna has pointed out. But of course, mentioning the NBR, the National Bibliographic Register, we advise you to go and consult the profiles that are on this resource that we maintain to see. Yes, it's an identity card, as Maud mentioned, and you can see what are the standards that they use, what are their also coverage of the national publishing output, and all what you wish to know about the national bibliographies worldwide, and also the bibliographic services themselves. Over to you, Kazui.
Yeah, thank you all. Hasnain, can we address your question? If you have any other comments, please text us to via webinar chat. So let's move on the next question. Question for Ashwin and Jeremy. Do you have any YouTube videos that can be referred to if a library is desirous of cleaning up its records using your approach?
Okay. Hey, Gabriela, thanks so much for the question. Thanks, Kazui, for pushing this question as well. Cards on the table, this current workflow is fresh out of the oven, so to speak. So currently we are still trying to optimize it and refine it in our capacity and for our database. It's still very much a work in progress. However, we're definitely happy to get in touch if if you want to bounce ideas together to see how we can perhaps come up with a workflow that works for each other's tables and perhaps build our respective workflows together. Ashwin, do you want to add anything as well?
Okay. So, I mean, it seems like in terms of implementation, it's you need a very detailed response. So yeah, I'll be happy to discuss specifics offline. But essentially, whatever I have done is open source. So if you are a resource constrained, if you're in a resource constrained environment, this approach would work. for the most part. Yeah.
Thank you. And let's move on the next questions. Did your project include serious data, and if so, were there any specific challenges faced? Christian has already answered that questions, but if other attendees, other presenters have some comments or answers, please feel free to add the comment.
I can add a detail concerning the Share Family initiatives, not necessarily specific to the national bibliographies, but also including the national bibliographies portal, which is that, yes, the technology that supports the environment also includes and manages serials, so monographs, serials, and all types of resources. Although I'm not directly involved in the very technical work, I can say that the challenges in the management of serials are mostly related to reconciliation and the fact that serials are periodical works, periodical resources. So in terms of how the data coming from different libraries, different institutions, and gathered into the same shared space, shared platform, this poses a few challenges on how the data can be reconciled and presented in a user-friendly way as far as end users are concerned, and in general, as far as the consistency of the data is concerned. So yes, I would say that the hierarchy of periodical resources has been quite challenging, and this is, I think, the main difference compared to the data treatment of monographs, which is more straightforward in this sense.
Thank you, Anna. We are running out of time, so I'd like to close the Q&A session. Thank you for all the participants, and thank you for your participations. Rehab, it's up to you.
Thank you, Kazui, and thank you for closing the Q&A session. Maybe we can ask all of, being inspired also by the very first presentation by Maud and Hans. I'm very driven by the success factor and also the challenges. So I will ask Maud and Hans and anyone also of our presenters to give us like what were the challenges, the main challenge or the main opportunity in this journey. And also you'd ask all our participants in 1 minute to give like a takeaway message from this journey, also revolutioning or driving change or innovation in bibliographic service.
I will answer first, maybe. So if I understand good, you ask what the main opportunity was or is. I think the change that we did was the change from a local system to a system that allowed more data services. Just made our institutions or our data more valuable. Again, not only for the local reader, but just valuable in the library community worldwide. So that's the most important opportunity, because we are already a small country. We are already a federal country with difficult organization. So I think a lot of people, catalogers from our team, also had the feeling, okay, why do we need, what are our data useful for? Why do we work for? And seeing that what you do, when you correct an authority, for example, it can impact not only the data in ISNI and via that way also the data in other catalogs worldwide, that their work, that their research, it's really important for the worldwide library community. So I think this is the biggest opportunity, make our data more valuable, but also make the work more valuable, or make the people's work more valuable. So it's a general answer, but I think that's the main important thing for us. I don't know if Maud wants to add something or not, but
No, I completely agree with what you just said. Thanks.
Thank you. Any takeaway message from our presenter? 1 minute.
I'll jump in. So, well, first of all, I want to thank Maud and Hannes, because honestly, everything you said about how you have evolved and how you work, I felt as if it was applied to my own reality as well. And we're, on a different side of the industry, but we have exactly the same challenges and needs as we move forward with different sort of cataloging realities. So thank you. It was good to hear. So for me, I think I can sum up in 2 words. So that's probably not even 1 minute. And for us, it's collaboration and cooperation. Everything we do relies entirely on the community, and the input we get from the community gives us guidelines on how we move forward. So we exist thanks to the library community. So thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, so much. Any other?
Maybe I'll go ahead. Well, I guess for my specific project, I guess resources and expertise in most projects can really amplify the impact, right? But I guess experimentation can fuel progress, and openness to experimentation can really spark breakthroughs. Yeah, that's all.
And I think these are really astute points. And I think the takeaway for me, and I've seen this keyword a lot in other presentations as well, it's also about the user. At the end of the day, boiling back to whether your user is the library itself as a midpoint customer, or the library patrons as your users. I think that thinking about that as that end goal really makes a difference in terms of why we do what we do.
Thank you so much. And if there are no additional takeaway or take-home messages about this very inspiring webinar, we would like to thank all our presenters today and our panelists, and also thank all participants who have and attendees who have joined us today. This is the first webinar in 2021. We surely will, the bibliography section will have more webinars during the year, maybe after the Congress. And this is an occasion to make some promotion for our presence in the next IFLA Congress. So we are having 2 joint sessions. Open session during the program, and 1 satellite preceding the Congress, all in Acetana. So please check our page to get more information about our activities, and we'll reach out through the mailing list closer to the date of the Congress with more details about the session. So if you are attending in person, please join us at least for the open session, and make the effort to come also to the satellite, because the topic is really cutting edge on the intersection of AI, bibliographic control, and legal matters. Thank you all for this insightful webinar, and thank you our attendees once again. And now we will wrap up and end the webinar.